Hey, what's up, people? Piz out here, and continuing my series, the 13 Days of Friday the 13th. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, and where to begin with this movie. I will start by saying that I have very, very nostalgic, warm feelings for Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. If you, like me, grew up watching and loving USA Up All Night, you knew that every Friday the 13th, USA Up All Night would play Friday the 13th movies. Really, that whole weekend was just sort of Friday the 13th-a-thon. And on Sunday afternoon, they would always wrap it up with Friday the 13th, Part 8. So not only was it the end of the weekend, and tomorrow I was having to go back to school, it was Monday, and but it was, it was the end of, Friday the 13th on USA Up All Night, so I'm sad because of that. And I knew, at this point, this was a time sort of before Jason Goes to Hell came out. It was the last Friday the 13th up to that point. It was the last, Paramount Friday the 13th. And even, a little after Jason Goes to Hell. And I'll get into Jason Goes to Hell, the next movie, and how it just doesn't, the Paramount Friday the 13th feel like a completely different series than the New Line Friday the 13th. But anyway, it just felt like Part 8, ending on Part 8. I just felt, I don't know, it's just I can remember that feeling of being like, it's over, and tomorrow I've got to go back to school, and but, liking Friday the 13th, Part 8. And though I have very, very warm, nostalgic feelings for all the Friday the 13th, and those nostalgic feelings, in a lot of instances, can gloss over a lot of the film's, some of their more glaring faults. Friday the 13th, Part 8 is kind of a hard movie to defend, even, in the warm, beautiful glow of nostalgia. Because Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, is not a good movie on really any level. I will give the producers this. They rolled the dice. This was the 8th film. They had the gall to create, to put Part 8, Friday the 13th, out there. This was, for the better part of a decade, Paramount's, just cash cow. And they had milked it dry. And at this point, Friday the 13th was in, the nadir of its run, to use for lack of a less pretentious term. It was on the downslope, and it had been on the downslope for the past few movies. The box office returns had been steadily declining. So they decided to roll the dice, and they said, hey, Rob Hedden, the writer director, said, let's take Jason out of Crystal Lake. How about Jason Takes Manhattan? How about the ultimate fish out of water story? And the producers said, go for it. I mean, on paper, it sounds amazing. The ultimate fish out of water story. We've never seen Jason outside of Crystal Lake, and what better place than, the vast, sprawling metropolis of New York City. I mean, you just imagine Jason, in Times Square. Jason, Madison Square Garden. Jason, the Empire State Building. Jason, the Statue of Liberty. Jason on Broadway. You just picture all these just really amazing scenarios. And let me get right back to you. Sorry about that. Rhonda Shear calling me. Rhonda, get over it. I'm taken. Okay? Move past it. Anyway, where was I? Yes, just the idea of Jason in New York City, of all places, New York City, brings to mind all these amazing, possibilities, so much potential. And then it came time to cut the check for the budget, and they realized that, we're going to have to scale things back pretty dramatically, and the end result is Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, which can be summed up is just sort of a missed opportunity, poorly executed, just kind of honestly a mess. The majority of the film takes place on a cruise ship where there's this, it's like a graduating class of seniors are taking this cruise to New York, and Jason has been revived yet again by electricity, and he gets aboard the ship and wreaks complete havoc. And gosh, where to begin? Where to begin with this movie? I mean, right off the bat, the movie looks cheap. The movie looks very, very poor production values. The movie looks bad. The movie just looks bad. Jason looks bad. The Jason from Part 7, arguably the best Jason has ever looked. I mean, that makeup effect, that Jason was phenomenal. The Jason in Part 8 actually looks like the movie should be flipped. This is what he should have looked like before Part 7. It's just, he's like covered in slime, and it looks awful. With the mask off, he's a Pumpkinhead. I mean, you guys have heard Pumpkinhead Jason. That is Friday the 13th Part 8. It just looks bad. It's like they scaled, they scaled everything, the production value down, the look of Jason down, to make room for, what? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. The movie has a huge body count. The movie has an enormous body count. When the ship is like embarking on the trip, when they're leaving Crystal Lake, which apparently Crystal Lake is connected directly to the ocean, which and is big enough to put a giant cruise ship in. Again, that something else that just doesn't make sense. There's like 200, 300, there's just people everywhere on this ship. This was a huge graduating class. And when you think about it, there's only a handful of people that actually get off the ship alive before the ship sinks ultimately. Jason commits a mini genocide in this movie. He takes down an entire cruise ship. Not only does he kill everybody on the cruise ship, he sinks the cruise ship. I mean, just enormous a body count. The lead actress in the film, she, from what I can gather, Rob Hedden sort of had it in his mind that this was going to be the final Friday the 13th film. So he wanted to make a bookend to the entire series. Part 1 and Part 8, and his film would be the bookend of the entire series. So he wanted to somehow tie the original in with Friday the 13th Part 8. So the lead actress, played by Jensen Daggett, she was swimming on Camp Crystal Lake way back in the day, and Jason underwater attacked her and tried to pull her under and drowned her. And she's been haunted and continues to be haunted even on the cruise ship by these images of young Jason just sort of standing in the corner doing weird stuff that just really doesn't make sense. It almost seems like there was a whole other subplot to this film that was just completely cut out. There's a lot of moments in the film that just kind of don't make sense. The characters in the film are bad. The acting in the film is bad. The writing in the film is bad. The production values are bad. If it had been, if those things had been a little better, if the film had been better executed, yeah, it would have been disappointing. Calling the film Jason Takes Manhattan and it being actually shot one scene in New York, the rest of it on a cruise ship and in an alley in Vancouver somewhere. But if it would have still been disappointing. But if it had been executed well, if it had good characters and good kills, and the kills in this movie are awful. If it had good kills, good characters, a good-looking Jason, if it had these things, you could be a little more forgiving on it, forgiving of the film as a whole. But the film doesn't have anything. It's hard to really think of pros for this film. They did shoot one scene in Times Square, and it is a really cool scene. Jason is stomping down Times Square, and there's this group of 4 punk kids just hanging out in the middle of Times Square, but they're listening to rap music. They're punk kids, very stereotypical punk kids, but they're like listening to hip hop rap music. And Jason just walking down the street, and there's this boom box, and the boom box is in front of Jason. So does Jason step over it? Does Jason step around it? No, he just kicks it into a million pieces. The thugs stand up. One guy pulls out a butterfly knife. He's like, hey. Jason turns around, looks at him, lifts his mask up. They all take off running. That's the best thing about this movie. The best thing about this movie. Once they finally get to New York, aka Vancouver, they're just running around in all these just really nasty looking alleys, abandoned buildings. I mean, if you didn't realize that it was shot in Vancouver and not in New York, you would think New York is nothing but horrible looking back alleys, abandoned, dilapidated buildings, and miles of sewer tunnels that every night at midnight are flooded with toxic waste for God knows what reason, to clean the tunnels out. Because toxic waste has such a, it's like hand sanitizer. It's like Purell. You know what I mean? So anyway, yeah, we end up in the sewers. And it all culminates in Jason reverting back to a little boy. And the movie just sort of ends. And yeah, that is Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. It's really a mess. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I still like the film. It's probably my least favorite of the Paramount films, but I still like the film. I still feel very nostalgic toward it. But like I said before, that that warm, glowing, nostalgic feeling that you can use to sort of Band-Aid over some flaws in certain movies in the franchise, and they're not that big a deal. In Friday the 13th Part 8, nostalgia can't, you know what I mean? You're putting a Band-Aid on a severed limb when it comes to Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. But yeah, it's really a mess. It's really a mess. It was the biggest budgeted Friday the 13th film up to that point, and it was the lowest grossing Friday the 13th film of that point. The 80s were wrapping up. The decade of the slasher movie was closing out, and Paramount said, okay, this is it. That's it. Friday the 13th Part 8 is how we're going to close it out. That's the final image of Jason will be Jason as a boy in a sewer in New York after being awash in toxic waste. So, yeah. Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. Let me know what you guys think of it in the comment section below. I do like it, despite its pretty overwhelming flaws. I do still feel nostalgic toward it. I do like it more than some of the other movies that I'm going to talk about moving forward as we go into the New Line era of Friday the 13th. So, anyway, again, let me know what you guys thought or think of Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan in the comments section below. And until I come back at you with Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, you guys take it easy. Peace.